really trust us.
Marry my daughter.
Is she a prostitute? The eyes of a dying giraffe can change a man.
We try make blood much big.
Happy birthday, monkey spanker.
No really trust us.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome everybody back to another episode of No Really Trust Us. This is our podcast about the B movies and indie movies you all really should be watching. I am your host, Ken Cornwell. I'm a video producer and a writer and movie fanatic, and maybe not still, but once was known as a walking IMDb. Although I feel like challenger to that could be one of our other hosts, Mr. Matt McNevin, also known as the Professor.
Hi, Ken.
Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Matt McNevin. I am called the Professor because I'm also an adjunct professor at American University, where I teach mainly screenwriting, but also some production things. I'm a video producer and scriptwriter, and sometime part-time independent filmmaker when we get the money together. And that's me. And Dedo, who are you?
Hi, I'm Dedo. I'm the third guy. I'm the third musketeer. There was a time in my life when I aspired to be a walking CNDB, and if you know what that is, you're a pervert. I also work in the media industry. I do video editing, I do directing and writing, and this week I dabbled in light HVAC repair, so I'm very proud of that.
It should be. Very manly. Very manly.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
super manly.
So this week we're talking about The Endless, a movie from 2017, sort of a sci-fi thriller. I guess it's kind of described as a horror in some circles, and I guess it has some horror elements, but I think it's more of a sci-fi thriller. And I guess I could read the IMDb synopsis at this point. I don't think this is too spoilery, but it goes, this mind-bending thriller follows two brothers who receive a cryptic video message inspiring them to revisit the UFO death cult they escaped a decade earlier. Hoping to find the closure that they couldn't as young men, they're forced to reconsider the cult's beliefs when confronted with unexplainable phenomena surrounding the camp. As the members prepare for the coming of the mysterious event, the brothers race to unravel the seemingly impossible truth before their lives become permanently entangled with the cult. So, The Endless is directed and produced by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. They also star in it, and this is a running theme of this podcast now, but they also edited the film with Michael Felker, and Aaron Moorhead is a cinematographer. Justin Benson wrote it, and so they were heavily involved in all aspects of this film. So, who would like to jump in? Dedo, what do you have any initial thoughts?
My initial thought is props to whoever wrote that synopsis. That is a fantastic synopsis for, I guess it was Texas Boy. So shout
Texas
out
Boy.
MTV user Texas Boy with two Y's. But that is an excellent review with no spoilers. But no, this movie is cool, and it does not feel like a movie where the same two people did everything in it. So that's like props to that. I know there is a common criticism about the film about the two guys starring in it, and they do seem maybe a little older than they should, but that does kind of blend into all the weirdness. So it wasn't a deal breaker for me. And I'm usually hyper critical of that stuff. So overall, I was pretty engaged. I usually lose my patience with mindfuck movies because it's really hard to pull that off. And this one kept me going. I will say I was, it's a bit Donnie Darko where they're like, oh yeah, you gotta read the Wikipedia to really know what's going on. But that is what it is.
And there are some things that I think are just not, there is no explanation for, unless you guys know somehow or have some idea of what something is about. But there's like one plot point in particular that we can talk about later that it's, well, maybe it's not spoilery, but that I'm not sure how it happened. So
fair enough.
Which we'll bring that up later.
I definitely have questions, but we're going to try real hard to do a spoiler-free half and then a spoilery full half. So
yeah.
Yeah. So, how about you, Professor? What did you think of The Endless?
Yeah, I agree, Dedo. I'm pretty much with you. I enjoyed it. I wish the payoff had been a little more satisfying. I think it's good enough, but I always kind of wish that movies like this that have so many interesting ideas in them, when they climax with, big CGI stuff, I'm like, I wish the climax is more idea driven than it was. But and I agree with you about the two leads. Not a deal breaker for me. Again, they are kind of limited as performers. They're maybe a little older for those parts than they probably should be. And I think all of the other performances are terrific. So I think that doesn't help either when like you have the two leads who are not necessarily actors by trade and are in scenes with terrific actors. So that kind of like stands out more when they're as limited as they are. But I understand why, why they do that, because especially when you're going no budget or low budget, you're always there. So you're not gonna get stood up by an actor, or if you need to grab a shot real quick, you're like, oh, just Aaron, just stand over there and just let me just get this insert. Like you can do that really quickly.
Yeah, and for
Um,
me, it worked because they were fish out of water because they had left the cult and they couldn't fit in the real world, and now they're back in the cult and it's awkward there. So I was accepting of a lot of their awkwardness because like it actually was working in this particular plot where everyone in the cult was like super comfortable because they're like, yeah, there's nothing wrong here. Why are you guys so weird? You know?
Yeah. I also
yeah,
I also thought it worked for me because they obviously know each other so well that they work as brothers. Like you get the sense of their relationship that I mean, certainly really good actors could fake that really well, act that. But it felt really natural to me, their relationship as brothers. So that's one I think vote in favor of them.
yeah, I think that's a good point, Ken, because that generic word chemistry, which is so hard to quantify. Like I think that familiarity that they have with each other as being, if not brothers, at least, really familiar with each other, makes up for that. In a sense, it's sort of like casting non-actors in a small part in a bigger movie where they just bring, what they have with them into it. So I think that goes a long way too. Like you do believe that they were brothers and you believe that they've had a history together, the way they kind of deal with each other. So
Yep.
I think that makes up for a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I really wish they had spent a little more time in the real world,
I
but
agree. Totally agree.
both to see what their life was like, but also to agonize over the return. Um,
Totally agree. To me,
yeah,
that was the most interesting part of it, and I was actually a little disappointed that the movie kind of veered off from that, because I was fascinated by that first, say, 10 minutes or so when they've just left the cult and they're trying to get back into their life. And we haven't seen that very much. It reminded me a little of a film called Martha, Marcy May, Marlene, which, Ken,
Yeah,
I don't know if you've
definitely.
seen that one.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the movie that Elizabeth Olsen kind of put her on the map. It's terrific, and it's kind of like sort of cult deprogramming essentially, and we haven't seen that a whole lot. So like asking the question like, okay, what is your life like now that you get out of this cult essentially? And it's not just like the psychological part of it, but it's just the actual, like, how do you survive? Like everything was taken care of when you were in this cult. Like the downside is they screw up your brain, but the upside is you don't have to get a job and you don't have to, get food and pay rent and things like that. Everything's taken care of. So when you're away from that, it's like, you're a 12-year-old or something like that. And now you're like, well, how do I live in the world? And that was super interesting, and I wish they would have explored that more. And also the dynamic between the two brothers was really fascinating, in that the one kind of resents the other for pulling him out of it. The older brother is like, looking out for him and saying, we did the right thing and you had to get out of there. And he's like, I don't like this life that that you've yanked me into. I want to go back to the old life. Like that was super interesting. And I totally agree that I wish that
Mhm.
that setup was a little bit longer and a little more detailed, because I was fascinated by that part. That was my favorite part of the movie, actually, probably.
Yeah. See, for me, I thought there was enough of that because you know, like, I don't know how much more you could get of that without it feeling like they're kind of hitting over the head. Because, we see them at their job. We see them with their therapist, deprogrammer. We see that they have all these bills they can't pay. They're cleaning houses. They're making ramen in the houses they're cleaning. They live in a shitty apartment. I mean, I get it. There could be more of that, but I feel like that's not what they meant the movie to be about. So they kind of move on to the next part pretty quickly.
Yeah, I get it. I just wish it was about that. I totally respect what they're after and what they really want to do. I was just way more interested in that.
Mm.
It does lead to the great line, which is maybe on a nominee for the Walken Awards later, which is I'd rather be alive and eat ramen than be dead and eat corn, or whatever it was. I was just like, okay, that's a philosophy. That's a life philosophy.
That's something.
I think he said corn. I had to turn the subtitles on at one point. So. But let me ask you. I mentioned the subtitle. Let me just ask you this, because this may be just me. And maybe my soundbar, because I didn't watch it in my home theater with the awesome speakers. I watched it on my living room TV with just a regular soundbar. I found the dialogue, like, there's something about the dialogue that bothered me. Like the EQ, the equalization of it seemed a little off. It seemed like there was too much high frequency roll off for me, and that usually doesn't bother me necessarily, but sometimes I had to turn on the subtitles so I could understand what they were saying. Now, it may have been my soundbar, but I watched an NFL playoff game and it was fine. So maybe it was the movie. Did you guys have any issues with the dialogue, or was that just me?
Yeah, I did not, but I'm pretty sure I usually have the subtitles on by default.
Okay.
So
yeah, same.
And
And I had the subtitles on, I think, also to catch, to make notes of things.
Yeah.
Did you watch it on Amazon Prime?
I watched it on Peacock.
Oh, okay. Because I know Prime is infamous for having really bad compression.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So that's a possible culprit.
I mean, it looked great. The compression seemed okay. So it might have been just unique to me. But once I turned the subtitles on, it was fine. So
yeah.
These days I find subtitles. I just go subtitles anyways because it's just it's so rare you get a perfect mix.
Right.
But then I was watching something the other day and I had to shut the subtitles off because they were so big. They were blocking some of the video. I was like, who did this? I don't know. I wish I remember what that was. But yeah, I mean, like, just overall, the production design, like for an independent film, was like so well done. Like, and I suspect actually that's why they didn't spend a lot of time in the quote unquote real world. They clearly had this location locked down, and they had free run of it, I assume. And whereas I feel like maybe they were shooting in their own apartment for this other stuff. So presumably that's probably why they were like, let's get over to the desert where we're in complete control. But like all the little details, the cool little weird sculpture things, all the True Detective-esque phenomenon in the sky,
and the birds and the
clouds, that stuff was all so well done. And like
the sun, the moons, the two moons and then the three moons, and that distorting effect I thought was really cool.
Yeah, so
and I love that shot too later on where they're fishing, and then there's must be a drone shot of the lake, and you see something underneath the water. I thought that was very cool.
Which, to be fair, didn't really make sense. It was cool.
Right.
It did completely mess with everything else we were.
Right. And that's not the only thing that doesn't make sense. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's definitely a few things where it was like, okay, I feel like you guys had a neat idea here, but you didn't think it through from a story point of view.
Yeah.
But minor stuff, and it leads to the overall mystery and WTF of the whole thing. So
yeah. Professor, what do you think about the characters once they arrive at the cult?
I liked it. Again, I liked the dynamic of the two brothers. My thing, more so than character, was urgency. Like I don't necessarily need to feel like constantly like Hitchcocky and edge of your seat thrills all the time. But I did feel like it meandered a little bit towards the beginning when they first got to the cult, and it didn't really need to, because when they go back to the camp, or to the cult grounds, I guess you could say, it's sort of clear why they're doing it. They get that tape and they get concerned about it, so they kind of go back to see if everything's okay. And also I think one of the, Aaron essentially, or one of them wanted to have like quote unquote closure essentially. And closure is kind of a vague sort of motivation. It's kind of like, what does closure mean essentially, But that
Yeah.
motivation of we have to make sure these people are okay because they're talking, really apocalyptic and this is scary and we've got to, yeah, that I feel like that's instantly lost because like that
Yeah.
makes sense. It's like, okay, we got to go back and make sure everything's okay, and they
Yeah.
don't really do that. They just kind of like wander around and meet people, and they're interesting people that they meet. And again, the dynamic between the two brothers is great. But I feel like when I was watching it, I'm like, all right, can we grind the gears of the plot a little bit more?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once
Yeah.
it gets going, it really gets going. But
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it didn't need much to do that either.
Yeah.
Just a little line of dialogue here, maybe an extra little scene here that kind of, ramps up the tension a little bit earlier on. But so I was a little antsy in the beginning, but then once I got into it, like I said, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and part of that is like you want it to be antsy a little bit because like you are like, oh, how bad is it that they've gone back to this cult? And I remember
Right.
like watching it and I'm just like, wait, they're just rolling in like it's like it's normal, and then it's like, and everyone, but then you're like, okay, cool, yeah, like the leader who's not the leader, like he's
Yeah.
two-faced, everyone's nice,
Yeah. Well,
like
there's the weirdly smiling guy when they drive
yeah,
Yes.
in.
there's the one guy.
They see the angry guy,
But I do
Storm.
maybe this movie suffers a little bit from bad marketing, and because it's like it's hyped as much more of a cosmic horror like type thing, and it's like it's not really scary at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this horror at all. I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
more
I don't
like
think of it as.
sci-fi thriller.
but you
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
into it thinking there's going to be scary elements, and so you're kind of looking for that real hard. And if instead you knew you were going into a sci-fi mystery, then you'd be looking for different clues, and you wouldn't necessarily be like looking for tension.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you kind of think you're going in to Get Out, and you're actually in Nope.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was reminding me a little bit of Nope too, especially at the end
Yeah.
with the entity.
It's
Essentially.
it's funny about the pacing issues because actually I feel like, and this is still not a spoiler, but I feel like the pacing flags a little bit at the end bothered me more. I thought that like there should be a little more tension right at the end where they're kind of walking around where I'm like, why aren't you guys like running as fast as you can?
Yeah.
Right, right.
So it's funny because the pacing didn't bother me much. Didn't the tension levels didn't bother me that much at the beginning because I was sort of like, slow. There's enough like odd things happening that it kept my interest going. But for me, it was, yeah, a little bit more the end where there was an issue.
I will
Yeah.
say I loved when shoot I didn't do my research and I forgot to remind myself of the characters' names. The older brother.
Justin is the older brother.
Justin.
Aaron is
They actually use their
they
own
use their
names.
names.
They
Yeah.
did. They did.
Okay, yeah. So Aaron
They had
goes.
enough to remember, so they didn't need to worry
Right.
about that.
Yeah, Justin goes for a jog, and they follow him with this over the shoulder, but it's almost actually like a POV shot, just as if someone's running behind him. At least I think they're using an anamorphic lens or maybe this was just my old TV, but like when you get the little distortion from the anamorphics in the landscape, like that kept happening, like it was super intentional. And that was really cool. It was really surreal. I really liked that. And that was a great indicator, like, hey, yeah, this is a little weird. There's weird stuff going on. And when you learn later, I mean, that actually ties in really well to one of the world building things. The fact that the reality was distorting like that was really neat.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other thing in terms of like the tension that I think a little very minor thing that would probably help, even not changing a thing, is just the performance choices. I think especially from the two leads, it just seems like every performance choice, at least from the two leads, was like they kind of have this okay, whatever sort of attitude. And
Yeah.
it's like there's some really extraordinary things that happen and they just kind of like, all right. It's like maybe you don't need to be like panic stricken or just like, oh my God, like Spielbergy and kind of eyes of wonder, but you should be a little more than just like,
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
why I wanted more of them in the beginning. And I
Yeah.
want to see them interacting with normal people to see how weird they were. And then
Right.
that would have been justifiable when they get back into the cult and the cult's actually familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were. Especially Justin. He was surprisingly chill, even though he was like, "No, we can't go back. We can't go back." Like,
Right.
yeah, yeah. But again, minor stuff, like because you're really focusing on like what's going on here, and then when you get to the rope tugging scene, and you're like, okay, this is cool. This is weird.
Yeah.
What is going on? Like, so.
Yeah, it also makes sense because they're not encountering it for the first time. They've been there for a while, so they're kind of already familiar with it. So it sort of makes sense that they wouldn't be, agog at certain things because they were used to it.
Yeah.
But once it starts escalating, it's like I think the performance should escalate in terms of reaction to.
So some interesting facts about this movie. They've created sort of a shared universe. So the previous movie that they made, which was called Resolution, features the two guys that are in the cabin that burns down. So their first movie was devoted all to them. And then the blonde woman, who I think her name is
Jennifer. I think
Jennifer. Yeah. She is the wife of the guy who's not the drug addict in the cabin. Mike. Yeah. And then their more recent movie called Synchronic, which starred Anthony Mackie. That's from 2019. Starred Anthony Mackie and Jamie Dornan. That apparently is also in this universe. And currently now they say they're planning a TV series that's set in this universe. So I'm a sucker for a shared universe, especially an indie shared universe, which I think is always fun.
Right. Indeed. Have you guys seen Resolution? I have not.
I did see Resolution. Yeah.
I did want to see Synchronic because Synchronic got actually a pretty good release right before the pandemic.
And has some well-known stars.
Yeah, absolutely. It got some good reviews too.
Do you feel like does seeing Resolution first, does it really help with the comprehension of this movie?
No, and I don't think you need to have seen. No, I don't think you need to have seen Resolution to appreciate this.
Okay.
But having seen Resolution, I appreciated a little, what more I got from an explanation for what was going on in that movie here, because you really have no idea what's going on in that movie.
Okay.
And that's sort of, we could talk about that more later because that kind of ventures into spoilers.
Yeah. But I think that's the way to do the shared universe thing at this scale, where it's just it's more like just little Easter eggs like that. So you don't need to see those movies in order to get it.
Yeah. So
I think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing no budget indies and you're expecting people to watch all these movies, they're not gonna. So
yeah.
you better make them comprehensible without that stuff.
Right. And so, I mean, I think some of the better actors in this film are the cult members, and I in particularly really liked Callie Hernandez, who plays Anna. She
looks so much like Selma Blair. At first, when they cut to her, I thought, "Is that Selma Blair?" And it is not.
Yeah,
because she looks so much like Selma Blair.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I think she brings a lot of humor to it, and she brings some warmth. She was also she's been in a number of movies since then, but this same year she was in Alien Covenant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But again, I don't remember much from Alien Covenant. So.
Right. Not a great movie.
I remember I'll do the fingering. That's what I remember.
Right.
I will say I found it an interesting casting choice that they had so few women in the cult. There's basically two. And I just found that really odd because I was like, both the main characters are virgins, so it would actually track. Like they keep mentioning they can't even talk to girls in the real world. So like on the one hand that tracks, like they grew up in a cult where there was hardly any women, but at the same time, if there had been a few more women in the cult, I would have empathized a lot more with them being seduced by this cult. Like
there are more women in the background, but there's only two.
Are there? I don't think there are. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are.
Because I remember, like, I had that thought halfway through the movie, and then the rest of the movie I was looking, and I saw the only other woman is the wife of Mike, who's not even like a real woman.
And there's Lizzie,
a real cult member,
who's the artist.
Right. Yeah. So there's those two, and then there's wife of Mike.
I'm pretty sure there are others, but I have to go back and look at some of those crowd scenes. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
almost positive there are more than just. But we only really get to meet those two, just Lizzie and Anna.
Right, right, right. And it was just like, that's often how cults recruit people with like,
Yeah,
with members of the opposite sex. Like, so it just seemed a little odd. And also is like, once you learn more about what this cult is offering, obviously that would appeal to both sexes. So it just seemed odd that there were so few ladies.
right,
Uh,
right.
Other than the stereotype of like, the beer brewing industry is dominated by men with beards. So
That is very true.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the beer making subplot? They drank a
I
lot of
mean,
beer in the movie.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I like it from the point of view of it's a little detail that gives plausibility to the whole thing. It's
Yeah,
like this is how we exist, this is how we make our money, you know, like we're not doing anything wrong, and that I always appreciate that kind of world building,
yeah.
you know. So
Did you
Yeah, and
also?
it's
Oh,
good that it's not. That's a good point, Detto, because like you could easily go down a rabbit hole of like seeing them making the beer and like making more scenes of that, but
right,
we don't care. Like it's just like it's a really great bit of writing in the sense that, like you said, it kind of one little bit of dialogue and one maybe little shot that kind of covers that plot hole, but does just enough to get back to the story. Like a lot of like, and I see it with my students a lot of times, is they get enamored of like ideas that are interesting but are off the topic, off subject. It's like this is interesting, but it's got nothing to do with the story. Like it's not a story about beer making, right? So let's just have a line of dialogue that explains it and then move on.
yeah.
So I think that was a
yeah.
smart way to do that, I think.
And I thought there was going to be like alien juice in the beer, and I was kind of satisfied. I was kind of glad when there wasn't,
Yeah.
like 'cause I thought when they mentioned the beer in the first place, and I thought they make a living, I was like, oh, that's going to be the big reveal. But it's like, nope, that was just like a very normal thing that cults do.
Right. uh, what did you think about Dead of There Were Boobs?
Uh,
Did you like that?
wait, there were?
Well, there's at the beginning when they're driving up to the cult.
Oh, yes. I actually did really like that. That felt like I always appreciate like genuine moments of guyness. Like, because like like that's actually hard to find in Hollywood because
Yeah,
a lot of the people in Hollywood are not genuine bros. And
yeah, yeah,
so yeah, that actually I did actually
yeah,
enjoy that. That was funny.
yeah. I
Uh,
also like the little. It's not the little haircutting. I feel like you had an objection to it, but I thought the little haircutting joke was funny.
so my
I
only
like that.
Yeah.
So two things actually. One, that was a really extreme thing to do, and most people would not be cool with it. Like only people that are cool with that are people who have already shaved their heads before and aren't terrified about what they look like. So it was a little over the top there, and it didn't
Yeah,
have any like payoff. But
yeah,
importantly, I didn't like it because it made Justin look significantly older, which, as we said, wasn't working for this.
yeah, yeah.
And I was, I
Although,
was, I was like, what was the decision there? Why did you guys just
right,
do that? Like,
right. I
did he
just
ever?
thought I think it was just a funny bit, and maybe it just didn't. Maybe it was a mistake,
It
and then
would
it
have
makes them look older.
it would have worked as a bit if it happened much later in the movie when Aaron was like really fed up with his brother. But for it to happen
Yeah.
so early, you're like, whoa, this kid's an asshole. Like that is like a terrible toddler thing to do. Like,
It was a little, yeah, it was a little shitty, but it
yeah,
shows you how mature they are.
yeah, and maybe this is just me, constantly thinking about the whys of these decisions. But I was like, well, why would you do that? Why would you put that in your script? Like, why would you change your actor's haircut for no like for just what was it?
For one side gang.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it was just really fast. I was like, he must have had another movie where he had to have short hair or something? Like,
I don't know. I feel like it's the kind of thing that you could picture brothers might do. Although I would kill my brother if he did it to me.
yeah, exactly. That's
But
my point. That's my
right.
point.
But they
Like,
do
yeah,
jump, so you can imagine they maybe had a big fight in between when it happens, and then later on when Justin is talking to the deprogrammer. Because
maybe
there's like a jump in time
right, but that's kind of
between
my
those
point. So
things.
without that fight, what's the point of that?
Right.
what's the point of
Well,
that?
then you get the funny gag of him with the bad haircut.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was not my favorite part of the movie.
uh, something related to that, I was gonna say.
I do enjoy
Uh,
hearing the. I guess this is one thing about this podcast I enjoy about here. We all have little specific things that drive us crazy, whether in general or in specific, and I always enjoy hearing what it is that
right.
bothers people because everybody has a different line, and it's just weird that certain people
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
You get hung up on stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Um,
So do we want to talk about, before we jump into spoilers, do we want to talk about budget?
Yeah. Do you have numbers, Ken?
I do have numbers.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Excellent.
I do have
oh,
numbers.
what a treat.
I know. Well. And I do know they made a lot of decisions based on budget to keep it low, including casting themselves.
Right.
That was intended to keep the budget low.
Yeah.
So do you have
Unless
guesses?
they paid themselves an exorbitant amount of money, that would be funny.
Right, that's true.
Like,
That's true.
the budget
That's
is
true.
$5, but we
Yeah.
we pay ourselves 50 grand each.
Yeah. Actually, I not only have budget, but I have box office.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to do
yeah.
budget first?
Yeah. Do you want to guess?
Sure. You want me to go first? All right. I'm going to say the number 85 has come up multiple times on our series of episodes, but I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go 55. 55 grand total.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. You're lowballing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay.
Well, I mean, it depends on like the effects. You know, there's not a whole lot of effect shots, but they're pretty good. So whether they did them themselves or I forget in the credits who did the effects, but whether they outsourced that or because it did look like they were impressive, but there was some pretty basic kind of After Effectsy stuff in there that wouldn't cost that much, I would think.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm going lower than every time I've gone higher, I've been wrong. So I'm going, I'm going lower.
So I'm gonna go higher because, like, on the one hand, yeah, this movie was clearly budget conscious, and it was also like not super flashy, but it still had a very professional level of production. So and it feels like it was filmed with professionals as opposed to, like, just gathering up your friends in the backyard. So I'm going to say 250K, and I would
Ooh,
actually go higher, but it was clear they ran out of money towards the end.
Right, that's for sure.
When the house catches on fire, the special effects get
Yeah, that's what I mean about
good.
like After Effects like plugins.
Yeah, and
like,
actually, I guarantee you, I know exactly what tutorial and what VFX package they used for that house flame, because it was identical to a very popular make a burning house tutorial that went around. And then, but also the scene in the car at the end when they're fleeing was like, all of a sudden it felt like we were watching a movie from the 50s. I was like, oh, they clearly ran out of money here.
It's Earth versus the flying saucers now.
Yeah. So I think it was still in, like, it's a no budget movie by Hollywood standards.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So this may change your opinion about the movie. So the budget was $1 million.
Whoa. Really?
Right. Well,
Yes.
yeah, they better have paid themselves then.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I was close.
the other actors, you were closest without going over. You get that?
Dude, we've been trying to figure out how to make a movie for 50 grand for far too long. We're like,
That's right.
we're like, yeah, dude, we can totally do this for $5,000.
We could totally do this for
No
55 grand.
problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you seen The Phages, available on Amazon Prime?
That's right. Exactly. And if we starred in it, we could do it for 35. So
I know, right? Why didn't we cast ourselves in The Phages?
Yeah, that's right.
I know you guys missed the boat. You should have cast yourselves.
Wow, a million, I will say, a million from what I've seen, and this is 2017, right, Ken? I think it does seem a little high for.
You think
for
that's?
the
Do you think that
production value we
includes?
get.
Does that include P&A? You think?
Could
Yeah,
I
I
or
don't
is that
have
just,
the
is that just
breakdown.
production budget? Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
That
I don't
could
know what
be.
the breakdown is. Yeah,
That often.
yeah. I do know that
double.
the actors were, a few of the actors were pretty, not indie level actors were,
Yeah, I'm glad that they were able to pay people. It sounded like they were able to pay people reasonable, marketable rates, which is great.
yeah,
That's always nice when
They
you
had
can
a
see
it was
that.
a good sized cast, so
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
I mean, and it still looks great. I'm not decrying about anything, but like, I'm a little surprised it's that high. That's amazing.
it's got to include marketing. It's got to.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
did have
yeah.
a pretty good festival run, right, Ken? I know it got into Tribeca, I think,
Yeah,
and a couple other.
did pretty well. And then, it's been streaming for a while, so I don't know
Yeah,
what they got for streaming rights and all that. But because ultimately it did not make a ton of money in the regular box office. It made 957,000. And then it made an additional 350 in DVD and Blu-ray sales when that was still you could
just
actually
barely
still
a thing.
sell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the budget game.
Yeah, well, between those and between streaming and the deals, they probably turned a profit, so that's good.
So I
Yeah.
know we got to start keeping track of the budget game because we are really fucking bad at this.
I think I'm the worst, so I'm actually glad that I'm the
I
one
don't
that
know.
has to guess this time.
I think we've all whiffed hard.
Yeah, we have.
All
Yeah, that's why it's fun. Well, I mean, that's what's so now more than ever. It's like you can see a movie that costs $100 million, and you're like, it looks like it cost five, because
Yeah.
and then you look at a
Yeah.
movie that costs 50 grand, and you're like, wow, that looks like $1 million or $2 million. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so hard to guess anymore. It used to be easier, but now it's so hard.
Yeah. So shall we venture into spoiler territory?
Yes.
All right. If you're listening and you don't want to be spoiled, stop listening right now. Fast forward ahead a little bit and pick us back up after we finish the spoilers.
Or
Spoilers.
just hit pause and go watch the movie, and then
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. And then come
Right.
back,
Right.
which I'm sure everyone will do.
Yeah. So it seems like ultimately the movie is about that there is this alien that's creating these time bubbles in this area. What kind of questions do you have about what's happening?
yeah. So
I mean, I have
Aside from everything.
I have one big question that I don't know the answer to. I don't know how they got the videotape.
Yeah, like who sent it to them?
Who sent it to them?
Yeah, because they thought it was Anna, but then she says no.
Thought it was
I didn't-
Anna.
I
And
didn't
she
send it to you.
seems like legitimately
it was the alien.
the alien can send videotapes?
Yeah, because he says this is how the alien. Remember, because he's like, I dove down in the lake and I came back up with one. He's like, this is how it communicates with us.
Right.
And then they go in the shed, and it's like like all the media that's evolved over time.
Right.
So
But that's how the cult gets the tape. But how does the tape get to
so that
the brothers?
that
How does
raises
the alien get it to UPS? Is the
that
question.
raises
Right.
that raises the bigger, that raises a bigger question, because this is not a I'm annoyed that I have this question. This, I think, is a cool question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
remember-
will say, like, I'm not annoyed by any of these
No,
problems. Like, I kind of enjoy that it's not explaining all this stuff, but
so remember when you get that view from the hillside and you see the bubbles and they're different sizes.
yeah.
So I took that to mean that the alien's power is growing, right? So like the very first victim that we see is that poor World War I looking son of a bitch who's literally just in like a 2-second time blender.
Yeah.
On the tent.
And then like we've got the weird dude who wants the gun. His is shorter than the dudes in the house. And the cult is the biggest one that we think.
Yeah.
In reality, because remember when they first pull over the side of the road to visit their mother's grave, and they're like, oh, someone put this drawing here, and he's like, no, we did that. It looks brand new. That to me was a clue that they actually are in a time loop.
Oh, they themselves are in a time loop.
Like the alien is actually
Like the world?
maybe not the world, but the alien is controlling far bigger chunk of reality than anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that to mean that they're when they reach their mother's grave, they're within the time loop of the cult. And so the reason it looks new is because, it's not 20 years old. It's only, whenever the last time the cult reset.
Which, side note, also big question mark about this movie was like, wait,
Yeah, yeah.
how long were they in the cult?
Yeah. So I looked up the ages of Benson and Moorhead. And so they were 34 and 30 when they made the movie. So they are slightly older than you think they should be, because it means if they've been out of the cult for 10 years or like 9-ish years, they would be 24 and 20, which does seem a little too old for them to have left, right? Like, doesn't it seem like they left when they were
Yeah,
like late
especially there's a
teens?
line of dialogue that Hal says that really it's maybe the only time where it bothered me about the age. Most of the time, like I said before, the age thing didn't really bother me very much at all. But
Yeah.
this line I was like, that's weird. Where Hal says, "You are both at an age now where you can understand," and I'm like, that's not for someone who's in their 30s.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
because they're about the
Absolutely.
same age as Hal. It looks like
Yeah,
it's
Right.
like
Right.
that's a little
But
strange.
the fact is that everyone at the cult they're actually at least 10 years older
right, because
than they seem to be,
they've
because they've
gone
gone
through
through at
like
least one loop.
right.
Right.
But so that raises the other question, right? So like, however long those kids were in there, the loop is longer because they left before a cycle
Before it reset. Yeah.
Yeah.
otherwise they would have been trapped. So
Right.
and it's like, so I think they said he was 12 when they entered the cult
Right.
and then left at 17.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it was only 5 years, and they could have had a few cycles while they were gone. But it was very fuzzy
Yeah.
as far as that was
Yeah. Although I
concerned.
think the cult that cycle is supposed to be 10 years. Like, I
Okay,
think
yeah,
every 10 years it's supposed to reset.
Yeah, they
yeah.
specifically say 10 years.
Don't they? Yeah. Okay.
And I wonder if there's some exponential math they were using where it's like 2 seconds, 2 hours.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. Also, too, like, some of those people that are in the cult may have been in there for multiple cycles. So we don't really know how old any of them are.
Right.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah,
they entered when they were in their 20s,
yeah.
and then they're forever in their 20s.
Right. Yeah, that actually would have been cool. A cool detail to hear. Like the cult has existed since the 1800s or something.
Yeah, yeah. Although there's I don't
Yeah.
so there's well, that cult, yeah, it's unclear when that started. But going back to something else you said about how old the alien is, there's like an implication that the alien has been there since prehistoric times, because
Right.
of some of the stuff that they see at the end. They're seeing some ancient stuff,
Right.
which I don't know if that's super clear, and it's something that I read about after the fact. So it is that annoying thing where, does it really count if it's not really clear in the movie, if
Yeah.
they just said
Yeah.
it after the fact? But I guess apparently that's what that implication is supposed to be.
But see, that's weird then, because then why is that World War One dude stuck in like a 2 second time blender if this dude's been accruing power since?
Well, because there's no explanation for it, because all the time boot loops are a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the guys in the cabin are, not as long as 10 years. It's a few days, I think.
All right, so this is my other question. So the rules in the time loop are you have to kill yourself before the loop ends, or the alien's going to kill you worse.
Not worse, but I think for some of them, they feel like they don't want to give the alien the satisfaction of killing them, so they're going to kill
Well,
themselves
because like
first.
doesn't the walking dude, doesn't he say, he has a line about like you got to do it before or it's real bad or something like that. Like, but regardless of that, because then like what is happening to World War One dude? Like I took that to mean he didn't have time to off himself. He's just stuck in this blender.
Right.
How
Right. It's like a couple
because
seconds.
he didn't have time. But then the other question is like, why was the dude's body hanging? Like, I didn't understand the rules of the reset, because it was like his corpse is dangling in the barn, and he's like, yeah, that's pretty weird, right? But then at the end, he shoots himself in the head, and you're like, so like now is like his corpse gonna be on the ground, and that other corpse goes away, or is there two corpses? But he's done this more than two times.
Yeah.
So
And
So
then
then,
there's
I'm
yeah.
assuming it resets to you go back to where you were when it reset last time. So
Okay.
so however he killed himself the last time would be where his body wakes up.
So he. Yeah, I don't know. That's true. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a mind.
time travel
Yeah,
stuff is
Yeah.
always wonky, but then the other thing
yeah,
that really hung me up was like, because like, all right, so you got Mike and his buddy, who definitely reminded me. It totally reminded me of Jack Black in Tropic Thunder when he's also going through the heroin withdrawal.
Yes.
I will do anything. Um, but because they remember like that they're in the time loop, but then when he watches it reset, they don't remember. So it's like,
yeah.
wait, at what point? And maybe that question is answered in resolution where they figure it out. But that also like kind of like hung me
Yeah,
up.
because I can't remember now. It's been a long time since I saw a resolution, so I don't remember how it ends. You know exactly what happens in it.
Yeah.
But I know in resolution they don't know that there's an alien. So like this movie really kind of broadens out what's going on there. That's such a small,
And
that's a
like
little story.
if you ignore all the small bubbles, like it what happens with the cult totally works, right? Like
Yeah,
they do
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing, and eventually the alien sucks them up, presumably kills them, and just puts them back down. But they do
yeah.
retain their memories, which is how like dude is actually like really good with magic. Like that all works, and you could see
Right.
how you would consider that a utopia. It's kind of like Groundhog Day,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so so that
Did
all worked for
you?
me. But it was when we started visiting these other bubbles, and I'm like, wait, what
Yeah, there's
what is going on?
there's two lines of dialogue in particular that for a moment explained it for me and then unexplained it because it actually brought up more questions than answers. So the first one is from Carl, who's the guy, the bearded guy who's you see hanging, and he's in that his own little time loop. He's the guy who wants Aaron to get him a gun, right?
Yeah,
He says because he brings up this idea of borders, like borders between the loops. And he said the dialogue, and I wrote this down to make sure I get it right. When you're still on the border when the loop resets, you'll be stuck as shit forever. That's what he says. But they don't, they're in their loops, but they don't seem to be on a border. So I'm not sure
they
what
are on a
that means.
board. I mean, they can't leave. They can't leave their loop.
Right. So that means they're in the loop, not on a border.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
I
border
took
is
that as a border between
yeah,
loops.
I think the border is those bubbles.
The membrane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
like if
And it's
you're
kind of there are also those staff things that sort of seem to be like markers of
Yes.
yeah
where the bubbles end
Right.
or start.
The border.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which side note, why did no one just knock those down?
I
Like
know. Do you think it
that's
would make a
like
difference?
as
Yeah,
well
I
no,
don't
but
know.
it's as much as
Yeah.
I give them props for like the little beer brewing detail, like that to me was a huge like writing flaw because it was like somebody's got to try that.
Yeah.
When they finally realize there is some power up there fucking with them, and it's clearly made these bizarre fucking things. Why wouldn't you just be like, "What happens when we do this?" Like, and
Yeah.
you got to because that is an obvious
Yeah.
response.
Even if there was a line that someone said like we tried that, 20 years ago or
Yeah, or just
something.
like
Yeah, we
Yeah.
tried
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We tried that.
try it, see what happens, and
Yeah.
knocks it over and immediately
Yeah.
reappears, or he
Yeah.
gets blasted.
Except
Yeah.
the I think which I find kind of interesting is that the cult won't talk explicitly about what is going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's because
Yeah.
they want them to make the choice to stay.
Yeah, but
And
see
so,
again, so that I circle back to the lack of women because it's like
You always do, Ditto. Yes.
well yeah but
you're
like
going to make me go and watch it again so I can
but in all
count how many
seriousness,
women are in it.
it's like
Not extras.
why would this cult that is chock full of dudes with two ladies, but it's not a gay cult, why would they be like, yeah, we want two more dudes in here, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it would make sense
Yeah.
if the main characters were female, and
Except that if you're in there, they don't know what seems to be going on too is that they've been in it so long they're not even really interested in sex anymore. Like it seems like they want more people just to like have new people to interact with, because they talk about like there's not much sex going on, and they mention it at some point,
True,
and I feel like that must be part of it, is they're so bored with each other.
well, but again, then you'd want new people,
Right,
right?
but maybe they're
Like,
just like they've been in it so long they're over sex too.
maybe not a typical response. Like, I mean, you know,
I mean, they could be 100 years old. You know, they might be.
if,
You know, any
but like,
100-year-old is probably, you know.
well, all right, you bring the age thing into it, and like, yeah, we don't know what's going on there, but like in all seriousness, like there's literally a documented, you know, like sociological studies of situational homosexuality, prison being the obvious choice, where it's like you don't stop wanting it, you start getting it from places that you wouldn't normally
Right.
go get.
You change your
That is just the biological imperative.
change
Like,
your practices.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so like it's minor, but it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it was odd to me.
Yeah. I will say
Yeah.
the one thing that does bother me, going back to the professor, the tension issue that you raised at the end, it does bother me that they are not, once they decide that they're going to leave and they know there is a ticking clock that they have to go, they're not running to get
Yeah.
back to the car to leave.
Right.
So that when they're actually speeding in the car, you're like, oh, finally. You know, it feels like
Yeah.
they could have raised the tension more and more and more, because you know it's getting more serious.
Yeah, and that's an issue that, like, that's how you make an audience feel tension, is like the people in your surrogates in the situation
Yeah.
have to be feeling it, and they have to
Yeah.
communicate that, and they don't really. And again,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to be frantic, but you need to at least, be like, hey, we gotta get out of here, or
Moving fast.
exactly, the rhythm of the editing and also the performance has to
Yeah.
be, let's go, because that's
Yeah.
what's gonna
Yeah.
get the audience going
Yeah.
as well.
I do love the last shot of the cult though, where they
Yeah.
just seem sort of melancholy.
Yeah.
They don't seem upset. They just seem sort of like, slightly sad.
Yeah, I like that. That's a relatively, it's almost like a sort of neutral, sort of like Kuleshov sort of reaction that they're having,
Yeah.
so you can kind of like take your own interpretation. Are they, like you said, is it melancholy? Are they
Yeah.
happy? Are they like, oh, they got out, or are they like thinking, oh, they're out for now, but they're not for much longer, sort of thing.
Right.
So there's all sorts of, I really like that, because that's a really hard thing to do, because like filmmakers always say, well, I like some ambiguity at the end of my movie. It's like, great, give me good ambiguity, don't give me frustrating as hell ambiguity. Doesn't
Right.
count as ambiguity if you didn't figure out your screenplay. Okay, that's not ambiguity, that's terrible writing. And that's not the case here. They've thought it through and figured it out, and that bit of ambiguity of like, you're not confused with what's happening, but there is a little interpretation for how they feel about it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
I almost wish they had made the cult even more of a happy place. Like, I think that ambiguity would have been cool, where you as the viewer would have been like, I don't know, maybe I would have stayed if like it
Well,
was.
that scene is another scene that I really thought was fascinating, that they could almost linger a little bit more on, where once everything's revealed that it's a time loop and they're essentially stuck in it and they have to get out if they really want to get out of this thing. And Aaron says, hey, sort of like you said before, like, I want to stay. He's like, this,
Yeah.
it's a loop, yeah, but it's not a terrible loop.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
everything's provided for us. It's safe in here. It's scary out there.
Yeah.
And I don't like the life that's out there. So let's just
Yeah.
stay here. And Justin's like, what are you, crazy? And he's like, no, let's just stay here. And I thought that was, even at that point in the story, I thought was super interesting.
Yeah.
Now,
but
the downside is that like he instantly changes. He's like, Justin finally says, okay, we'll stay. And he's like, no, I just wanted to hear you say that. Okay, let's go. And it's like, that was a little rushed to me.
Yeah, that definitely like felt like a forced arc, but also like,
Yeah.
again, the harp on it. This is why I come back to like, I needed to see what their life was like in the beginning, because like, yeah, okay, they were poor and they were working hard, but like, that's called your 20s. We were all there. Like,
Yeah, well, but
like,
if you were spent that much time in that situation, in that cult-like situation,
but the viewers haven't. So like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Viewers need, like, we needed to see real world being really shitty to them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I suppose maybe like one more scene of something
Yeah, I agree.
really
Yeah, it
shitty
doesn't be a
happening
whole
to
lot.
them might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, or conversely, you just make the cult a little more attractive, and it's not just simply, oh, I get to work on a magic trick for the rest of my life. Because
Right.
you have to be a
Right.
really driven person, like the dude trying to solve the equation.
Right.
Yeah.
Be a really driven person to be like,
Right.
oh, I have infinite time to work on this one thing. That's awesome.
Right. But
Most of
Dedo,
us,
the food was really good.
Yeah. That's right.
was
It
it
did
really
look good.
good, or was it just good for someone who eats ramen all the time?
I
Like,
don't know. Yeah.
That's true.
They
I
said it was
mean,
so fresh.
yeah, I mean, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, dude.
Home cooked.
I like beer. I like beer, but like I'm still
Yeah.
not like, oh, I want to drink the same dude's beer for almost like infinite.
He's always
Yeah.
making new beers. He's got
Yeah.
And
But
so
it did.
so is
Yeah.
every brewery.
It did kind of all fit into one of the themes that I really liked in the story about the theme of control, and any movie about a cult, to a certain extent, whether intentionally or unintentionally, deals with themes of control in some way or another. But the idea that I found super interesting, and it comes up sort of in a line of dialogue, but also plays out in the story, which is, a sign of good writing. Like, sort of like, you can't just have your characters just say things; it has to like play out in the story. This idea of like, if you give up a little control, you give up all control. Like, it's a binary idea. It's not a, well, I'll just give a little control here and then I got
right.
control over here for the rest of my life. No, it's like, give up a little, it's the same thing as giving it all. And I'm like, that's super interesting because
Right.
that motivates both of their decisions in a
Right.
lot of
Because
ways, which I think
you're
is,
giving up, you might get something, you might get some benefits out of giving up control, but ultimately you lose the ability to like get something really great.
yeah, or
The
lose your
possibility of
identity too.
something or
Yeah.
lose your identity. Yeah. All right, fellas. So let's finish up with first we'll do any last thoughts and then we'll do the walking game and our favorite quotes.
If you followed us all the way through the spoiler thing, I feel like we maybe got a little critical there. And I want to emphasize, like, this is a solid movie and there's some really great moments. The one thing I would truly change if I could about this movie is that I actually want more of the weirdness, the true detective stuff. I wanted one more scene of that weird rope pull into space and the birds making circles and shit. That stuff was great. So, but definitely a good movie.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that like it's that our main criticisms are we want more of certain stuff. Like Dedo wanted more, sci-fi stuff. I wanted more kind of exploration of like the kind of cult mentality and the character stuff. I don't know what you want more, Ken, but that's a sign of just a really fascinating movie. I think there's a lot of really great ideas in it. Some are explored really well, and some, like, like I said, I would like to have them explored a little bit more. But like, when it comes to like the no budget or really low budget stuff that we do, and the reason why we started this podcast, a lot of it is like expectations. And that's what so much of, marketing films is about. When it's big films, when it's Deadpool and Wolverine, right? There's $150 million marketing budget behind it, so everybody knows exactly what they're in for. But like, when you have a tiny movie that has a thumbnail and maybe like a one sentence synopsis, it's kind of hard to like know what to expect a lot of times. And people, I think, go into it. Like, for example, this on Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 91%, and it's kind of pitched as like a horror kind of thing. And it's like, if you go in thinking, wow, this is like a 91%, horror movie, I'm all in. It's not that, right? It's more of a kind of sci-fi character driven kind of thing. And the thing about Rotten Tomatoes, if you click on the number where it says tomato meter, right? You just click on it, it says 91%, you click on it, and something comes up that says top critics and all critics. So like, all critics is 91%. But when you do that, you see the out of 10 rating. You see, like, not only because the problem with Rotten Tomatoes is that it's binary, right? It's up or down, and it doesn't really tell you what people actually thought about it. So if you look at the rating, the average rating is 7.6 out of 10, which is 76 out of 10. So the Rotten Tomato meter says 91, but the 10 rating says 76. So it's like, that seems to be more accurate in terms of like, it's a movie that like not everybody's going to vibe with, but if you do, you're really going to love it. And so that to me is more accurate than saying, oh, it's a masterpiece that everybody's going to love. It's like, no, there's some great stuff in it, but if you know what you're going in for and you kind of vibe with it, then you're going to be really satisfied by it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you think, Ken, about
Yeah, I mean, I think
expectations
of
and
the
things.
three, I'm the highest on it of the three of us, it seems. But I would not call it a masterpiece, as you said, but I really enjoyed it. and I think it looks great. I think it's got some really good acting, some really interesting things to think about and wrestle with. And I just overall really enjoyed it. Thought it was well done, especially for the budget and for what they were working with. And in fact, I'm sure I saw it in 2017 when it came out. And I think I enjoyed it more now than when I first saw it. So
Yeah, that's a
um,
good sign too.
yeah,
That like, and also like, I'm starting to get the vibe of what kind of movies you like, Ken, because it reminded me a little bit of Proxy, which is the movie that you read last time, in terms of like it's constantly, if not twists in the actual narrative, but twists in how you feel about it. Like the character
yeah,
dynamics change, and what you think is happening is not what's happening. You know, that sort of thing, which I thought
yeah.
was
I do like
really
a good like
interesting.
rug pull. I like a good
Yeah,
rug pull
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and both these movies are movies you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, right. You
You know,
can't be
like
on your phone
yeah,
while you're
yeah,
watching.
like
Yeah.
Killer
yeah,
Sofa,
yeah,
you know, Call of Cthulhu. Like you can have
yeah,
that movie on while you're cleaning the house, and you're
yeah.
still gonna get a lot out of it. But
Yeah,
like movies are like these are homework movies. Like
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
But they're rewarding. Like if there are
yeah,
some movies where like you got to pay attention because they're poorly put together and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But here it's all ideas. You know, it's like to really get something out of it, you really got to pay attention and think about it. And it's
yeah,
because the screenplay is so thought through, both from a character standpoint and from a plot standpoint. So,
yeah.
yeah. And I think I watched it almost twice in a row,
mm,
so I could be prepared for this. And I think that helped
yeah.
to cement some things in my head. But so should we do our professor? Would you like to go through your favorite line readings first,
Oh,
and then we'll
the
do
Walken Awards. Yes.
the Walken Awards?
um, yeah. So one that's a well, there's a couple that are just like, regardless of how it's read, it's just full on walking stuff. One of which seems improvised, I think, by in the Chris and Mike scene. That Chris actor seemed to be having a lot of fun, and I think was allowed to improvise some lines. This one must have been improvised because it's the way he delivered it. It seemed like he was making it up as he goes along, and he says, "You're all hunched over like some James Bond with scoliosis trying to hide a boner." Which just the degree of logic that keeps escalating and goes along kind of made me laugh.
Damn it, that was going to be my choice. Although I would
Can you
not
do
have,
it? Can you Walkenize it?
I would not have
Yeah.
remembered the scoliosis part. But you're sneaking along, all hunched over like James Bond with a boner.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty
And I
good.
forgot the scoliosis part. So there was a little bit of a mumblecore, just a slight hint of mumblecore energy to these movies. So I wonder if maybe there was more improv than we realized.
I think there probably was. It seems like from
Yeah.
now and again. And there was one that I thought was more thoughtful and interesting and more poetic than kind of wacky, which is when I think it's Aaron who asks Hal, appears to be the cult leader, but then says, "I'm not the cult leader." Um, he's asking him a specific question about what's going on exactly, and he just wants an explanation. And Hal comes back with, saying more would be like trying to explain an impossible color. Which I thought was interesting, and I like the way he delivered that too.
Yeah.
He kind of delivers it like a Carl Sagan kind of like
Yeah.
looking off into the clouds kind of thing, which I thought was really well done. I just liked that line. That was
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Deado, do you have favorite lines?
Professor took mine, so the only other one is the one we mentioned before, which is, "Hey, look, boobs."
That's a good one. I think that
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah.
There's one that I liked. It's from Lizzie, who says it in a very flat affect, which I think is intentional. She says, she's talking about the tweaker dude, and Aaron asks if they were dating, and she says, "We weren't dating. He was just a guy I was obsessed with when I was on lithium, Thorazine, and PCP."
I did like. We didn't talk much about that character, the character Lizzie, because she doesn't have a whole lot to do. But every time she showed up, I liked that actress a lot, and the way she delivered her lines, especially that one included.
Yeah.
I had a lot of affection for that character, even though she's not
Yeah.
a huge part of the story. But I thought
Yeah.
she
And I
added
loved her drawings, her
Yes.
sinister drawings.
Yes.
It does just occur to me now, like those are very like 80s drugs. So I wonder if that's like a clue, like
Yeah.
like a hint that, like, and not just a random collection of narcotics.
Yeah. PCP. Like
PCP in
PCP's even
particular.
like 70s.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Thorazine, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, solid writing there.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, this has been fun. And so until next time, thanks for listening. Rate us on iTunes and all the places. Give us 5 stars. Subscribe.
Even if you hate it, give us 5 stars.
Even if you hate us, subscribe everywhere you can and give us 5 stars.
And if you really want the endless experience, just put this podcast on loop.
That's right. There you go.
All right. Thanks. Till next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you've got a movie that you love and you think more people should know about, drop us a line at noreallytrustus@gmail.com or on Instagram @noreallytrustus. Don't forget to rate and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.